Hello, it is great to have your company on a Sunday morning. I'm Nick McArdle sitting in for Ros Kelly, and it's a very good morning to Mark Taylor, Casey Delacqua and Ellie Cole. Eloise, hello.
Hi, good to see you. I haven't heard my name being called Eloise for a while. I'm
very confused. I've looked at the rundown. It says Eloise Cole interviewing Eloise Cole. Ellie Cole and Ellie Cole. What's going on?
That's correct. You don't have to get your eyes rechecked for that one. There is a very simple way to tell us apart. Can you guess what it is?
No. Age?
That's a good guess. No, I'm looking forward to that one.
Probably not. All right, we've got a massive show coming up. Let's have a look at what is coming your way. On today's show, a boil over in the AFL, St Kilda over Geelong in a Marvel thriller. Jimmy Bartel with us shortly. Australian superstar Peter Bowl joins us from Melbourne. Aussie track and field flying with the Commonwealth Games on the horizon. Cut the carry-on. That's the edict from Dragons coach Shane Flanagan. No more of this from Christian Tuipulotu. Novak Djokovic and Nick Kyrgios heading to court to push for a better deal for tennis professionals. Casey with the latest on that. And the interview. Ellie Cole, one-on-one with Ellie Cole. Oh, that's cleared that up, hasn't it? That's what's coming away this morning right here on Nine's Wide World of Sports. Let's have a look and check in what happened in the NRL overnight. The Cronulla Sharks hammered South Sydney at Shark Park yesterday afternoon. The Sharks halves pairing of Nico Hines and Braden Trindle starred for the home side. Cronulla winning 27 points to 12. Now, the West Tigers' solid start to the 2025 season continues, taking down the Dolphins 30 points to 18 at Redcliffe. The Dolphins sit equal bottom of the ladder, 0-3 to begin their post-Wayne Bennett era. And Gold Coast stunned the Newcastle Knights in wet conditions to claim their first win of the season. An inspiring performance from Titan skipper Tino Fa'asuamaleaui. The final score, 26-6. And we are going to continue to talk some rugby league and say a very good morning to Queensland legend Jonathan Thurston. JT, good to see you. What a start by the Tigers, hey? Who saw that coming, and can it continue?
Yeah, we'll get a good sign of the West Tigers over the next 3 weeks. They play the Warriors, Broncos and the Knights again. They played the Knights in round one and lost by 2 points, but Api Coruscant and Doreen Buller weren't in that side that day. So I expect them to at least win 2 of those games. And, yeah, the West Tigers are flying. I think it'll be crucial for them to keep their spine together. They're 9-7, 6-1. If they can stay on the field consistently over the season, they're generally a top 8 chance. So, you know, I'll get them finishing anywhere between 7 and 10 if they can keep that spine together. So, yeah, it's good news for the Tigers fans.
And JT, your Cowboys, it's been a tough start to the season for them, arguably one of the toughest draws. How do you kind of rate their form at the moment? And is the draw, you know, really do they kind of assess the draw when you're looking at the Cowboys?
No, it's just a week to week for the Cowboys. 0-3 is not a great start. We were in the same position in 2015 when we went on to win the grand final, but I don't think a team has ever won a grand final being 0-4. So, yeah, the next month is crucial for the Cowboys to try and get some wins on the board and start building confidence. There's been a lot of changes at the Cowboys during the off-season, and whilst they would have got reps at training, there's no pressure like the NRL. So, you know, the edge defence has been really leaky to start the season. That improved on Friday night against the Broncos, but, yeah, that's certainly an area that they need to be better at is their defence.
And JT, you talk about the pressure of the NRL. That game on Thursday night, the Panthers v the Storm, that was one hell of a game. But now Penrith are 1 from 3. Is that any area of concern there for Penrith, or is it just a bit of a slower start from their point of view?
Yeah, just a bit of a slower start. You can never discount the Premiers. They're only 4-time consecutive Premiers. Like, it's one hell of a squad that they've got there. And we've seen that when Nathan Cleary went off, you know, they're 9 and the other players just stood up in that position. So, you know, they had 2 kicks for touch to attack. They missed those opportunities as well. They didn't find touch, which would have put them in an attacking raid as well. So, you know, whilst they had just some wobbles at the start of the season, I don't expect that to continue.
Well, the Storm have started really well, but they've lost Jerome Hughes from that brutal game. Is that going to affect them? And please say yes, because they play the Dragons next week.
Yeah, look, he's the reigning Dalian medalist, so when you take someone out of the team with that calibre, it is going to affect your team. But like Penrith, they got systems in place, and it doesn't matter. You come into that team, and it doesn't matter what position you play or what number you got on your back. You just stick to those systems. You know, Penrith has been the best out of it over the last few years. Melbourne Storm again. So they've had Torrin Wishart fill in that role. But yeah, whilst you can't replace them, or you know, a calibre type player like Jerome Hughes, they'll get someone in there to fill that spot and just jump into that system that they have.
No doubt Tubby's going to be keeping an eye on that one,
It's a not good sign for the Dragons.
Yes. Now, there's going to be an interesting match playing out later today against two great rivals, the Eels and the Bulldogs. How do you see that one playing out?
Yeah, well, I thought the Dogs would have been an easy chance given the Eels' form to start the season. But, you know, the injury to Burton kick-out will really hurt them. Again, they've got systems in place, but just the calibre of players that they've got at that club will come in and fill those roles. But, you know, they're two world-class players, Burton, Kickout. So I think it's going to be much tighter than what people think. I'm thinking of my days back playing with the Dogs, and, you know, you just see this blue and yellow and the blue and white on one side of the stadium. So crosstown rivals, there's always drama, as Gus says, so expect plenty of drama this afternoon between these two teams.
Looking forward to it, JT. Thanks for joining us right here on Wide World of Sports. Good stuff. Jonathan Thurston joining us from Townsville. And a reminder, it's not just the live action, the live NRL action coming your way on Wide World of Sports. You can stream all the best Rugby League documentaries free and on 9 now. Catch Rabbitoh Campbell-Graham's return to the field after 553 days on the sideline. Or maybe you're a Titans fan, love Tino Fa'amausili, who... you can check out his road to recovery, move it forward. The Manly Way returns for a second season. Can the Seagulls go all the way? And after their first 2 seasons in the NRL, see how the Dolphins are shaping up for their new season. All that and a whole lot more only on 9 now. And we'd love you to stay with us right here on 9's Wide World of Sports. We're only just getting started. Still to come, Jimmy Bartel standing by. Something marvellous at Marvel. The Saints hold off a fast-finishing Geelong as the pressure continues to build at Carlton. Australian cricket's latest tiff, Usman in hot water after skipping Queensland's Shield game. We'll get Tubby's thoughts on that. And Aussie diver Ellie Cole is in the studio and in conversation with Ellie Cole. Thanks for staying with us as we head around the grounds on a massive weekend of sport. Emirates Park-owned Mahuna took out the Golden Slipper in a thrilling finish at Rose Hill yesterday. The Michael Friedman-trained Mahuna was a 50-50 chance to even make the field, let alone take out the $5 million Group 1. Now, the Indian Premier League season is officially underway with Virat Kohli leading the Royal Challengers to a 7-wicket win over reigning champions Kolkata Knight Riders. The Challengers restricted the Knight Riders to 174, thanks in part to Josh Hazlewood, who took 2 wickets. Kohli then starred with the bat, scoring an unbeaten 59. The Challengers winning with 4 overs to spare. And in the AFL, Port Adelaide bounced back from their first round defeat with a thumping win over Richmond at Adelaide Oval. Ken Hinckley's men led from the start and never looked back, really, winning 140 to 68. And St Kilda upset Geelong in a thriller at Marvel Stadium. St Kilda by as many as 40 points before the Cats clawed their way back. The Saints holding on to win by 7. And we are going to stay with AFL for the moment as we bring in Jimmy Bartel from Melbourne. Jimmy, good morning to you. St Kilda looked impressive for so long in that game. Can they consistently mix it with the top 8 teams this year?
Morning, Nick. Yeah, that was super impressive. And even the Geelong coach, Chris Scott, post-game said, look, we can focus in on the Cats, who were the raging favourite, and what they did wrong. But it was more about St Kilda, their pressure. They were able to deny Geelong the football in the first half. And with Tom Stewart going off, it threw Geelong's structures out. But to their credit, they got out to a really big lead, but then, you know, really hung tough. The Cats came at them, but they just delivered in the big moments. And the question you ask is, can they mix it with the good teams? It's going to be a bit of a roller coaster. But the one thing about Ross Lyon's sides, they'll always bring defensive pressure. They'll always be in the game just because they're well organised. But some of their young players are really, really impressive. A lot of the conversation around the Saints, can they get big stars in? Well, they've got some future stars of their own if they just lock them away for a long time.
Jimmy, Carlton, 2 losses to start the season. It is early, but do you think there is real pressure mounting on Carlton at the moment?
There's always pressure on Carlton, Casey, because they're Carlton. They've but a big supporter base. They're very vocal, very passionate, and they do fill up the talkback lines when Carlton lose. I think for Carlton, everyone looks at their talent, but it's the way they're playing at the moment. They have a real good go in the contest, but they're lacking a little bit of polish. That ball use going inside forward 50 and a bit of spread from the contest. And if you're playing the Hawks, who can do that better than most, you'll get exposed. So, look, they played okay. But, the pressure will mount if they don't turn it around quickly.
A lot of pressure. I'm sure Sarah Arbo is going to be extremely happy about that. But let's turn our focus now on the Bulldogs. They're celebrating 100 years, and despite the lot, it looks like Rory Lobb has been very lucky to miss the sidelines after an absolute bruiser on Mason Cox. What do you think of this? I mean, it knocked his glasses off. Do you think he's lucky not to miss a game?
Yeah, he got him straight in the goggles, and I think Tubby would be happy with Rory Lobb going the Funky Miller blue hair for the 100-year celebration. It was nice hair. It's been ruled, it just came in that he's got nothing to answer for because they saw it as a genuine attempt on the footy. It wasn't a swinging round arm. You see he's got the arm out straight to spoil the footy on Mason Cox. Did a bit of damage there, the goggles going back into the face. So it was an unfortunate situation, but accidents can happen. This was a cracking game. The place was just exploding on Friday night. There was so much noise and atmosphere, a lot of discussion around the umpiring for both sides. The free kick count was heavily in Collingwood's favour. Not that that matters, but it was some pretty average decisions all round. The Dogs were very, very brave. They got a lot of players out, but for them to just go down in their 100-year celebration was unfortunate, but Collingwood's experience shone through in the end.
And Jimmy, the Crows looked very good against Essendon, although Essendon don't look at their best. Are you surprised how the Bombers have started the season?
Not really. They've been conditioning us that this is a rebuild year. They've got a lot of young players. But the Crows, they kicked a cricket score, Tub. I think they're still kicking goals at the moment. 160 points at the MCG is massive. And why that's important is the Crows have come to the G in recent times and just missed. If you're going to be a final side, and I think people think they might be the big riser because they've got all the talent, you've got to win away from home, and winning at the MCG is important because that's where the big finals are played, the grand final in particular. But they were powerful, they were dominant, and more headaches for the Bombers, but I don't think many people have huge expectations on the Bombers this year.
Good signs for the Adelaide Crows. Jack Draper, with his Sam Draper tennis, we're talking about it later. Sam Draper with his set shot around the corner. Like back in the day, you'd have been shot for this.
Oh, people, the traditionalists would be losing their mind, Nick. We'll go, what's he doing? Go back, kick a drop punt. But it worked for the big fella. You've got to go with what works. It is highly unusual, 30 metres out, straight in front, but he was consistent with it. He took all these shots with the snapshot. You're normally just plopping that through with a normal drop punt, but it works for him. And if he can convert, well, good on him. He kicked 3 goals. He was one of their better players on the day, so if he can keep hitting the scoreboard, but you'll have people pulling their hair out in the members everywhere, but go for it, big fella.
And Jimmy, my Swans have travelled west to take on Freo. They've started 0-2. They've lost a couple of close ones. How do you see this game playing out?
No, your Swans should just pack it up, Tub. Maybe relocate. They're all finished. They're all done. Hey, in their defence, they've played the Hawks and the Lions, two sides who are the premiership favourites at the moment, top 4 sides, and they've been really competitive. They've got some injuries themselves, but I still think Freo will win this game and the Swans will be okay for the season, if that's okay, Tub. So Freo are a good side. They need to actually put a bit more speed on the ball. Everyone wants them to pull their anchor up there for the Dockers and play with a bit more freedom because they're pretty average last week.
That one this evening on the East Coast. Jimmy, thank you very much.
Thanks, James.
All right, let's dive into the takeaway now. Bit of the weird, bit of the wonderful. Tubby, lead us off.
Oh, yes. So now girls, sit forward.
All right.
This is a real sport, I'm going to show you. We're going to talk darts.
You have to start off with saying this is a real sport.
Darts.
It's questionable.
I want you to talk about 9 darters and the big fish. I just want to go show you here. Luke Littler threw a 9-darter in his final in night 7 of the Premier League in Cardiff. Now, a 9-darter is 9 darts, perfect darts, to go from 501 to 0. And you have to finish with a double, and he finished with a double 15 there for a 9-darter. And Rob Cross, earlier in the tournament, threw the big fish to win his quarter-final. Now, the big fish is triple 20, and bullseye. The big fish finish to win his mate. That is darting heaven right there.
That's also some eyes glazing over right here.
I was actually watching the crowd in the background getting really excited. You would have been right there amongst it, right?
Absolutely. My daughter and I watched that yesterday. I made her sit down and watch that.
Child abuse.
Yeah. And she said, has he found a world peace? You know, like, Something like that, because that's the crowd went right off. No, Maggie, love the darts.
Great.
Love
Well done, Tubby. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
That's riveting. Okay, on to me. Well, over in America, a group of Canadians actually bought tickets to the Toronto Blue Jays training game at West Palm Beach. On the phone, the sales representative said to the woman, "Can you sing the Canadian national anthem at our game?" She replied, "No, but my husband can." So what did he do? He jumped out and he sung the national anthem. Let's take a listen.
Oh, Canada, we stand on guard.
Oh, yeah. He was a bit...
That's a man
He was
worth
a bit
keeping.
nervous, but I feel like he nailed it.
He was filled with adrenaline. If you look at the steady hand of those dart players and then the shaking hand of that opposite end of
So he's not doing the Premier League, that's what you're saying? He's not going to make it?
Well, I'm going to go into my takeaway now. I think we may all have seen that the Tasmanian AFL team have just unveiled their inaugural club mascot ahead of the planned 2028 AFL induction. They named their Scott Rum, and it's frightening. And,
That is scary.
apparently, its name means odd or eccentric, according to the Oxford Dictionary. And it is a bit odd and eccentric as well. It's apparently a term of endearment for many a Tasmanian. But believe it or not, this mascot here took 400 hours to create and was made from recycled school uniforms.
Correct. And they want
Where do you think they came from?
Well, they want to send it into schools to inspire the next generation of fans. Don't send that into schools. Seriously. What are you doing? So that got us thinking about other mascots. The Parramatta Eels have got a new mascot this year, which has caused
Also frightening.
a few mixed feelings. Is it a blue man with a tail and just big yellow eyebrows, and a blue woman for that matter? Or is it an eel? No one's quite sure what's going on. So this is Blue Blob from college basketball in the US.
Is it a prerequisite to
just
do
a wonder,
roly-polies?
Don't know. Kingsley the Thistle
What's
from
up with the
from the
moustache?
Partick Thistle Football Club in Scotland. So that's Kingsley. This is the Boiler Man, West Bromwich.
That looks like a Halloween costume.
That's a cardboard box, isn't it?
And this is truly frightening.
disturbing.
This is truly frightening. This is King Baby Cakes in the NBA. So that's the Pelicans.
It could be a marketing strategy, though, because that's shocking. That's
It
going to
gets
make
remembered.
the news. It does get remembered.
It's like that movie, that Chucky movie. Remember seeing that?
Head spins it.
No, that's not a good mascot.
You all right?
Yeah, I didn't sleep for a week after watching that movie. No.
All right. On that note, let's get to a break. More to come on Wide World of Sports. Three-time Olympian, Australia's track and field superstar Peter Bowl joins us from Melbourne. Australian track and field in its best shape in years. Brisbane Stadium set to be given the nod, but where are they putting the pool? Ellie's impassioned plea for an aquatic legacy. And rugby convert Jordan Petaia setting his sights on the NFL. That's all still to come right here on Wide World of Sports. Thanks for spending your Sunday morning with us here on 9. It's where the stars come to hang out, and Peter Bowl has done exactly that, Australian track and field superstar, and he joins us from Melbourne. Peter, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. How have you reflected on your Paris experience? 6 months on, have you sort of sat down and thought about the last year or so?
Yeah, definitely good to be here, and thanks for having me. There's always, between each race, whether it's Paris or I suppose it's just a normal domestic race, we always kind of reflect on those. And yeah, I sat down, reflected on that, and got back to work basically. Worked on things that I needed to work on, and now we're back stronger than ever.
So, Peter, you're now 3 Olympics, 31 years old, but I see there's some young guys on the horizon pushing you a lot more these days. Peyton Craig and Daniel Williams now from Nambucca, 17-year-old. You're still keeping these guys at bay. Did they inspire you to keep going?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about that high performance. So as a professional athlete in track and field, you actually want the most competition you can get, and having these young guys come push you through is great. But at the same time, I always approach each race the same, and I want to win it, whoever I'm versing. So, which makes them the better anyway. So if they want to beat me, they got to run a personal best, and I think Daniel Williams has been running basically a personal best every single race. So it's great to have that young guy there, and then of course Peyton coming through such a big year, and Luke Boys, who actually won our nationals last year. So we've got a lot of competition, and come Perth, I think will be one of the most exciting nationals we've ever had.
And you speak of all of the experience that you have, Peter, you know, multi-time Olympian. You've been racing for Australia for such a long time, and you're now at the age where you are beginning to see a lot of younger athletes come through. We've seen 17-year-old Gout, who's just exploded here in Australia. Have you had a chance to work with him, and what do you love about the way that he conducts himself as an athlete, being such a young athlete coming through?
Yeah, absolutely. Just as we spoke about Daniel Williams, I love Gout, and we did spend quite a time together just speaking, and we actually share the same management, so we're pretty close in that end. And just love the way he presents himself, obviously, love the way he runs, and the best thing about him is probably he's got one of the best teams around him, so he'll go really far, and he already is.
Peter, personally for yourself, heading into another Olympic cycle, your 4th Olympic Games, has your training changed over the years? And if so, how? How are you preparing for another Olympic Games?
I think at this stage it's all about the experience, you know, the body, the mind and the spirit all has to kind of align for you to be able to perform the best way you can. And we've done that over 3 Olympic Games, and coming to the 4th one is all about just staying healthy, staying injury-free, and doing what we've already done. Like going to the Olympics is not new for me anymore. It's just about getting things done and ticking those boxes that we've already ticked. And if we do that, come the day, we'll make that team. But most importantly, I've been to 3 Olympic Games. We don't just want to rock up to the Olympic Games. We want to be competitive at the Olympic Games, and that's the plan.
So, Peter, it sounds to me like that's very much still in your sights, on your horizon. That's, what, 3 years away? So you still want to be there. You'd love to be that a 4th-time Olympian. I think Robert De Castella is one of the only ones of a long-distance runner or a middle-distance runner we've had go to 4 Olympics. Is that a goal of yours?
Yeah, and one of my old training partners, Jeff Risley, has been to 4 Olympic Games, so that's really special for me, because I guess another part of it is 21 years ago I was an Australian citizen. If we can go to 4 Olympic Games to represent Australia, it would be just unreal. So definitely looking to push through that, but that's a long-term goal, and at the moment we're just focusing on the small bits, you know, as Nationals coming up, Maury Plant this Saturday over the 1500, and we've got Commonwealth Games next year, so there's all these steps and Worlds this year before looking at the big picture at the Olympic Games.
Peter, wish you all the best for that. Obviously, one step at a time, but if you could get to that 4th Olympics, incredible. Good luck.
Thank you.
Peter Bowl joining us here on Nines Wide World of Sports. We're going to have a look at a couple of quick singles. What's making headlines in the world of sport? And Ellie, Formula One, Oscar Piastri clearly loving Shanghai.
Yes, we love an Aussie doing well in the F1. He's edged out Mercedes' George Russell to claim his maiden F1 Grand Prix pole position in Shanghai, so putting himself in an excellent position, and obviously raced very well in Melbourne as well. So it looks like it's going to be a great season for Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, what a start for Oscar Piastri. Tubby, your Dragons, Shane Flanagan, he's put a lid on some try celebrations.
Yeah, I like this. I know Flano loves the energy that Christian brings to the table and the enthusiasm, but he wants it channeled the right way. He wants the celebrations. He doesn't want him to curb his natural behaviour, but he wants to say that it's not about the money, it's about the team culture at the Dragons, which is based on club and team first and foremost.
Case the Socceroos, they are one step closer to the World Cup.
They are, Nick, after their 5-1 win against Indonesia. They're currently sitting 2nd in Group C after the 3rd round of the qualifying. There's 3 matches remaining, so if they can stay into 2nd position, they'll directly qualify for the World Cup in 2026. They've got China coming up, a couple of omissions for the Socceroos, but things are looking pretty good at the moment.
Indeed they are, so good stuff for the Socceroos. Genuinely rocked by this yesterday. It must be a generational thing, the death of a boxing legend.
Yeah, only 76 years of age. George Foreman, obviously 2-time world champ, a boxer, a minister, a businessman. We've all had one of those grills, didn't we?
Sandwich tin.
$4 to $8 million a week at the grill at one stage. So, yeah, George Foreman passed away yesterday, and he'll be remembered for the Rumble in the Jungle with Muhammad Ali back in 1974.
Which is epitomised in the sports doco When We Were Kings, one of the best. Go and watch it. All right, Ellie, history made, the IOC this week.
Yes, the IOC has just appointed their first female president, Zimbabwean swimmer, 7-time Olympic medalist Kirsty Coventry. Obviously wonderful to have an athlete athlete voice representing the biggest job within sport in the world. And I think we're going to be seeing a little bit more investment into maybe some of those developing Olympic nations as well. So a great appointment.
Indeed. And still on the Olympics case, finally some clarity about the stadium for Brisbane.
Yeah, after a lengthy independent panel review about the game infrastructure, a new 60,000 seat stadium at Victoria Park is set to be recommended to the Queensland Government as the centrepiece of the 2032 Brisbane Olympic Games. So good news there and I guess we'll hear about more of that this coming week, but that's set to be announced.
So that begs the question, Ellie Cole, from put your swimming hat on.
Yes.
What about the pool? Because that's the stadium. They still haven't landed on where the pool will be.
It is. There is going to be a lot of speculation about exactly where this swimming pool is going. So there's been a few different proposals that have been floated. Some have been about refurbishing Gold Coast. They don't have 2 indoor aquatic facilities though. Some about refurbishing Chandler, which will be nearing 50 years old by the time we head to Brisbane. So almost as old as my parents, I dare say it. But then you've got to think about how expensive it's going to be to retrospectively make that venue accessible for Paralympic Games as well, because we do need to think about the accessibility requirements, not just for competitors, but for athletes as well. And so then the decision's been made, well, should we do a drop-in pool at the Brisbane Arena? But once again, every Olympics that's been held is trying to leave a legacy behind for these sports. And we have 4 aquatic sports at the moment. We have swimming, diving, artistic swimming and water polo that don't have a national training hub. There's no training hub for these athletes to all collectively come together. No possibility to host future World Championships or future Olympic Games. So it's not really leaving a legacy behind after Brisbane. And all of these funds, all of this money being put into a drop-in pool just seems ridiculous to me.
So the preference seems to be redevelopment of the Centenary Pool in Spring Hill, which is kind of in the precinct. It makes sense, a lot of money, but it makes sense.
We could redevelop that pool. I think that pool could be appropriate, but my preference, of course, being an athlete, would be to build an entirely brand new swimming pool, one that's going to last what we've seen in Sydney Olympic Park, which is used every single weekend, almost every single day to host competitions, and that venue is getting tired now, being 25 years old. But we are seeing how those swimming pools in particular, swimming is a national sport and the aquatics is a national sport. So being able to have a venue where these athletes can all come together and be the best in the world at what we do, which we already are doing. But in my opinion, we could do even better with a venue like this.
So, yes, the stadium's set to be announced this week, and
on
fingers
Tuesday.
crossed that we'll find out very soon about the pool as well.
I'm just excited for them to finally make a decision.
Yeah.
There's been so much speculation for months and months and, broken promises about elections and everything. So I'm just excited for a submission to be made and for us to all know what it is.
Watch this space. All right, we are going to take another short break. Back soon, right here on Wide World of Sports. Up next, double trouble right here in the studio. Ellie Cole and Ellie Cole. Tempers flare in Indian Wells. Igor Swiatek out of line. But is there more to it? And a preview of the Sheffield Shield final, South Australia and Queensland, with our very own Mark Tubby Taylor. Back soon. Next week on Wide World of Sports, we head to the high seas and into the inner sanctum with Team Australia as they battle for Sail GP glory. We speak to all the major players, including CEO and Olympic gold medalist Tom Slingsby, in an Access All Areas special presentation. That's next week right here on Wide World of Sports. So look out for that. Right now, though, it's welcome to Ellie Cole with Ellie Cole.
Thanks, Nick. I'm so excited for this interview, by the way. This is Ellie Cole. Welcome, Ellie, to the show. Great name.
Thank you for having me. Yes, it's amazing.
Now, my dad actually named me after a number plate on the way to the hospital. Not sure where your name came from, but it is a great name. I do know that you have been around sport for quite some time. In fact, we both trained at the New South Wales Institute of Sport in different sporting programs. And the way that I found out that you were in the program was when I was getting my annual medical assessment, and the team doctor said, "You don't look like you were born in 2006. And I was like, I'm not sure whether to take that as an insult or not. But being such a diver from such a young age, obviously you've aimed to become an Olympian. You managed to do that last year in Paris, but you did say that you never thought you would be able to make an Olympic final at that age. Fast forward to Paris, you're standing on the world's biggest stage at the Olympics, no doubt. How did that rapid rise come about?
Oh, honestly, I think it just happened. Like, I started training really hard after my injury. So I had a stress fracture a little bit ago, and I guess it really motivated me to just keep pushing, and I guess I just kept improving. The motivation was there, and I guess it just all came together at Olympic trials, and I was really, really grateful for that experience. So.
Oh, I can imagine. And I know that you really enjoyed yourself over in Paris. You were very fortunate to dive alongside Melissa Wu, who has been at the forefront of diving for almost 2 decades. What was that like to be able to dive next to Melissa, such a legend of the sport? And what piece of advice did she give to you?
Honestly, she was so helpful the entire time. She's such an inspiration. She's left such a legacy in diving. I think the biggest piece of advice would just be to keep calm during competition. She really just helped me throughout the entire experience. I guess she had so much experience with the Olympic Games, and it was just really great. I was just really grateful to have experienced that with her.
Now, what's really interesting about going to the Olympics in 2024 is that it really is a social media age. I remember waking up in Paris and, you know, you were diving that day. My phone was blowing up. People were following me for some reason thinking that I was you, so I got a couple of extra 100 Instagram followers. But what's it like to go over to the Olympic Games and have all of those new distractions that athletes from 10 or 15 years ago may not have had to think about?
Honestly, I didn't really find them that distracting. I felt like when you're in the Olympics, it's just this little hub, and it's just, everything's just, you go there and you perform. I honestly found it fine. It was really fun. The entire experience was just really great. Yeah.
Now, you seem to have an incredible head on your shoulders. I know that Melissa Wu has spoken very highly of you and about how advanced you are in terms of your years and the maturity that you show within diving. What most people don't know about you, however, is that you were actually studying for your HSC last year. How did you find managing training at an Olympic level whilst completing year 12 at the same time? How did you manage those two?
Yeah, look, it was definitely probably one of the biggest challenges of 2024. I just think I had a lot of prior experience with managing that time throughout my past years at school, and so I think that really helped me with balancing both of them. But yeah.
And incredible to see the support there from your school back at home. But what's it like getting to the other side of school? You're finished now. It's a year after you finish school. What are you doing with yourself?
It's definitely really nice now. Honestly, I just started uni, and so now we're just studying a little bit, and I'm learning to bake as well, getting into some skills that I didn't have before. So yeah, learning to bake, reading a lot, just taking a little bit of downtime. So it's really nice.
You absolutely deserve it. Baking is incredibly hard as well. I think a lot of people don't realise quite how scientific it is.
It's really hard.
But it's good that you have a few different ways to get some downtime, because being a high-level athlete is incredibly hard, and it continues for you. What's coming up next? I know I was talking before that you have World Cups coming up. You're heading overseas next week?
Yes, heading to Mexico and Canada next week, so that's really exciting. And then the rest of 2025, we have World Championships, so hoping to qualify for that as well. And yeah, it's going to be a great year of diving.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Happy baking. Make sure you bring in some baked goods next time.
Thank you so much for having me.
But it's good to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, Ellie Cole. Nick, we'll throw it back to you.
Good stuff. Thank you, Ellie. And Ellie, and have you ever heard anyone say, no, I really miss HSC, I'm not in the year afterwards? Terrific to have Ellie Cole on the show this morning by 2. Now, tennis case, and there's a really interesting, I think, legal action happening in the tennis world at the moment. Nick Kyrgios and Novak Djokovic are kind of the face of it. So this group of players taking legal action against the ATP, the WTA, so the women's and men's tour, the ITF and the ITIA. Tell us what's happening.
Yeah, look, I guess in layman's terms, essentially the PTPA feel like they perhaps have tried to work within the system with the tours and the governing bodies that you've just mentioned, and they feel like they're not being represented, they're not being heard, they're not feeling like they're being seen on some of the reforms that they're looking for. They've had plenty of conversations and they feel like nothing really has changed or there's no momentum. So when we're talking about what they're looking for reforming, and that's tennis scheduling, how much the players play, the fact that they're obligated to play sometimes mandated tournaments, endorsement deals, just those type of things. So look, it's a developing story as well, and there is a lot to play out. So, you know, we're all going to watch this space, but essentially that's what's happening.
Casey, always these things, there are always a lot of devil in the detail, and it was a 130-page document or something
which I have not read a single page.
I'm sure I'm not going to read it either. But
no.
What do you think will be the outcome? Do you think there'll be a resolution, or do you think this will go all the way to to litigation?
Look, I really hope there's positive change, Tubby, and you've been in sport long enough, and myself included, where there's always a bit of a shake-up in sport, and it's needed sometimes for positive change to happen. So maybe this is a time where, you know, all of those parties will come together and really discuss those issues that the players feel like they need to be seen and heard more about. Obviously, you know, the WTA just recently announced their comprehensive maternity initiative. You know, we know that there's different topics that the players are asking for, but there's no doubt that work has been done. But I just really hope this is a time for positive change and maybe a real shake-up for everyone to start talking together and really make a positive impact for the sport, because I love tennis. I've lived and breathed it my whole life, and all I want as well is for the players to feel like they have the best conditions to give us the best product, so that the audience and the fans also get the best product as well.
Worth noting too that it's not really about the top players. These guys this group of players are fighting for some of the lower tier players who don't do as well in the prize money and should be getting a bigger slice of the pie. Still on tennis, Iga Swiatek very much in the spotlight at Indian Wells. A dummy spit from her. Haven't seen a lot of it over the years. She's normally a bit of an ice queen. She's letting it all hang out. This is not the first in the last few months.
No,
what's going on with Iga Swiatek?
Yeah, look, there's what seems a lot going on, to be honest. This was directed at her team, not intentionally towards the ball kid, but you do have to be very careful because you can get yourself into a lot of trouble hitting so close to the ball kid. But look, she's a very, very intense character. This is some of what she came out post that. I just thought it was a lot. The statement was a lot. There was a lot in it. I think she was probably, you know, better off coming out just saying this, basically. My intention was never to hit anyone. I have frustration. I am human. I'm going to feel this way and that way. Sometimes she talked about the fact that she doesn't show much emotion. She's classified as a robot, and then she goes the other way and she's too emotional. I think Iga, she is already, you know, a 5-time major champion, and she is so good for a reason, because she you have to be that good. But I just hope she finds this calmness about her on the court, where she's just can play tennis and really enjoy it. But she is a certain type of, you know, character that brings that type of intensity onto the court, and that statement was a lot. She brought back into the doping scandal she'd been through. She brought into about the world #1 position that she's dying to get again. So there was just a lot in it. So I just hope, you know, from a playing perspective, she's doing okay.
There is a lot going on in that head of hers by the looks of things. All right, we're going to take a break. And on Wide World of Sports, as we head to the break, so often we've seen NFL stars come from AFL over the years, a couple from the NRL as well, but rarely, if ever, have we seen a rugby union player make the transition. Jordan Petaia is hoping to change that.
Oh, this is nice being able to check in with one of my favourites out of Aussie Rugby, now doing his thing on the International Pathway program with the NFL. Jordy Petaia, great to have you with us. Where are you dialing in from?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me. I'm here in the IMG Academy in Florida.
Hobson in behind, looking for Petaia. He won't be stopped this time. Flicks one over the top of Petaia. Jordy Petaia. Kellaway in the line. Here's Petaia. Jordy Petaia! So do you sort of feel like you're starting to find your feet a little bit over there in Florida as well?
Yeah, finally, I guess 8 weeks in now, I'm definitely a lot more comfortable with the game than I was in week 1. I think, you know, the first time I chucked on that padded helmets was, you know, a bit of something real foreign to me, because, you know, obviously you don't have the same peripherals, you don't have the same weight. Obviously you add, you know, a keg or two on, so it's something that, you know, you got to adjust to.
All right, so give us some ideas. So you've got your set plays and your play designs with the Reds and the Wallabies. How much thicker is that book over there in Florida?
Yeah, it's a lot thicker. There's definitely, you know, definitely different. You know, you got so many more players, you know, so many different scenarios as well that can happen. There's a lot of knowledge to this game, and as a fan of the game for so long, it's pretty underrated. I thought, you know, I had a rough idea of what was going on, and then I got here and then I realised, you know, there's so much more going on.
Speaking of positions, what are you looking at? What are you thinking?
I'm probably, you know, enjoying, you know, tight end and receiver. Obviously, you get to catch the ball and, you know, move around the field a lot more. Obviously, doing a bit of H-back as well, so covering a bit there, and then a bit on special teams. So, yeah, I'm loving all parts of the game.
What about Super Bowl? Where were you for that, and how did you enjoy it when you were stateside, taking it all in?
Yeah, we just watched it here in Cam. Yeah, it was cool to see, and obviously Big Jordy Mailata winning his first Super Bowl was awesome. And then him coming in camp a few weeks later was quite cool as well. He came through this IPP pathway as well back in, I think it was 2018 or 17, I think.
And give us some insight, mate, into what the next step is on that pathway.
We've got a pro day coming up in 2 weeks that we're prepping for, where you pretty much, you do your 40s, you do your vertical jump test, you do the broad jump test, you do your bench press, and all the scouts come out and watch us perform.
Awesome, mate. Well, we are hoping that you make that next step along that pathway, and we want to see you at a Super Bowl at some point as well.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Sean.
Well, thanks for staying with us. We are at the pointy end of the Sheffield Shield season. This is Western Australia and Victoria at the Wacker, and an unforgettable moment courtesy of the Vic's Campbell Kellaway. Potentially the catch of the summer, Mark Taylor. Campbell Kellaway was actually man of the match in this one, 165 in the second innings, but what a catch. So we're sitting there looking at that and thinking, hang on, there's something familiar about that. What does it remind you of?
Oh, Johnny Dyson. Has to be. Johnny Dyson, 1982 at the SCG. Bruce Yardley, Sylvester Clark is the batter, heading towards the old hill. And Johnny Dyson there takes an absolute ripper in the deep. Johnny was actually spent a bit of time in the goals for soccer. Good soccer goalkeeper, you can see there. Great athlete, very good pair of hands, good fella. And a fine opening batsman, but that was a great catch.
Couple of great catches. So we are heading towards the pointy end of the Sheffield Shield season. It will be South Australia and Queensland in the final. But in the lead up to that, those two sides played a Shield match, just finished, and Usman Khawaja didn't play. He was at the Grand Prix,
yes.
and he's copped some stick about that.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much about him being at the Grand Prix. It's just that he could have been playing, but he said he's been speaking to the staff at Australian cricket, George Bailey and Andrew McDonald, about his injuries, a niggling hamstring or calf, I think it was. And Joe Dawes, who's the head of cricket at Queensland Cricket, says he didn't know anything about it. He says his medical staff didn't know anything about it. So they're sort of saying, why isn't he there? If he wants to manage his body, understand that. But we've got to know. Now, Usman's sort of saying, well, he told Cricket Australia and they should have told them. But I reckon I would have liked to see Aussie own this a bit more, to be totally honest. I'd like to see him come out and say, right, I told the powers that be that I thought. But he's actually playing for Queensland. He played the match before that. He missed this game because he had a niggle, went to the F1. He knew it wasn't going to be a great look because he actually said that he was trying to keep it under the radar a little bit. So he knew it wasn't going to be a great look. I would have liked to have seen him own it and say, OK, I wasn't going to play. Should have let Joe Dawes know, who's really his employer at this stage. It's not Australian cricket, it's Queensland cricket. If he'd have done that, I think he would have nipped it in the bud.
Well, Usman certainly copped it from Queensland, from a lot of cricket fans around Australia as well. This is his version, his tale of events.
A similar thing happened to Paddy at the start of the year when he went to a concert. But I talked to Andrew McDonald yesterday, and he's like, Uzi, what you do with your spare time, I have no issue with whatsoever. I mean, I either go at home and curl up in a ball, or I go watch F1. At the end of the day, I'm still doing my rehab. I still got 3 gym sessions in while I was away in Melbourne. I still look after my body. I understand people look at it and they don't have all the facts and the optics look bad, but I think that's what was frustrating about me, and that's why I wanted to speak out. But I knew if I spoke out, I was just going to add fuel to the fire, so I had to humble myself and just take a back seat.
Yeah, he felt like he had to come out because people were starting to say, well, he's telling porkies about the hamstring. He was putting his side of the story.
Look, it's probably just a miscommunication. But as I said, Uzi's a former Queensland captain, very senior player, obviously with the Australian side and the Queensland side. I think there's a bit of onus on him to say to Joe Dawes, who's the head of cricket, and make sure that Queensland cricket know that, hey, I'm not playing. Because Joe Dawes then says, well, we didn't know. We're very disappointed he didn't play. So I think he could have done it a lot better, and it's not a great look when Queensland are going into now a Shield final. You've got their sort of administration at loggerheads with their players. That's not a good thing when you're going to take on South Australia on Wednesday.
Indeed. And Usman hopefully having his say in that Shield final against South Australia in Adelaide. Stay with us. Still a little bit more to come on Wide Water Sports. Thanks for staying with us. We're going to leave you with this bit of softball, something different. Minnesota and Michigan State. Michigan State hit a double, looked like they'd tied the game. But the batter got to the base, jumped up and down, and was tagged. Now, see, Shane Flanagan has a point about celebrations. Do not over-celebrate because this is the sort of thing that can happen.
Oh, yeah.
Got her.
Off the base.
Yeah, in the air, off the base,
Wow.
tagged out.
Gee.
I once did an early celebration. 400-metre World Short Course Swimming Championships. I stopped at 350 metres ahead of time. Gosh, it makes you humble very quickly.
Was it a PB for your 350
It was.
metres?
It was. 350-metre PB. That doesn't win you any gold medals.
I hope it was a good celebration, though.
It really was.
Was it? Great, and that's all that matters.
Thank gosh that wasn't filmed.
Let's have a look at what is coming up Sunday footy today. It's the Eels and the Bulldogs. Josh Addo-Carr in his first outing for the Eels against his old team. Look forward to your company for that. Thanks for being with us today on Wide World of Sports. Ros is back next week. Ellie Cole saying thank goodness for that. Thanks for your company today. See you soon.